I got the divorce email while I was still in the desert. The 10 years ended with a PDF attachment. My name was Nathan, 42, a sergeant in the 82nd Airborne Division. I had been stationed in Kandahar for 4 months when Becky decided not to wait any longer. The subject line of the email read, "Let's act like adults." The email contained 3 sentences. She filed for divorce. She withdrew money from our joint account. She moved her new boyfriend, Jeremy, into our house in Spokane. I read the email twice. Then I closed my computer, showered, put on my uniform, and started my online shift as usual. I said nothing to anyone. When I got back into bed that night, I texted back just one word, "Got it." That was it. Not enough. Not a champion. Not sure. Wilson, my roommate, sensed something was wrong. "Are you okay?" he asked without looking up from his book. "Yeah, just some stuff at home." He nodded. That was it. We soldiers know when to relax. Actually, I didn't expect it. 6 months before I deployed, things had changed. Little things. Becky kept asking about my day, started working at the dentist's office, started homeschooling 3 days a week, but never broke a sweat. She had new clothes, new friends I'd never met, and changed her phone password. I didn't confront her. I didn't check. I wasn't that kind of person, but I wasn't blind either. I started moving quietly, not out of revenge, but out of caution. I rented a storage unit across town, where I kept all my important papers, my birth certificate, my marriage license, the red door to my house, in my name only, thanks to a VA loan, my military benefits records. I also moved my grandfather's watch and my mother's old silver into it, the things that really mattered to me. I opened another bank account and quietly transferred a portion of my paycheck into it. Not enough to raise suspicion, but enough so I wouldn't have to start over if things went wrong. The night before we left, she hugged me at the airport. "Wait, okay," she said. Her eyes were cold, as if she were sending a coworker, not her husband, off to war. I had to realize that, but I held out hope. I said it. What she didn't know was that I had been preparing for this moment. And what she doesn't understand is, I never start a war. But I always end at point 2 months later. I landed back on American soil. No warning. No text. No phone call. I just quietly checked into a motel in downtown Spokane under an assumed name and contacted James, an old Army buddy now a lawyer. We met at a diner 10 miles outside the city. "You look like hell," James said as he slid into the chair across from me. "I feel the same way," I replied. James handed me a file. "Everything we talked about is in here. The deed, the loan papers, the bank statements. And this." He pulled out another piece of paper, a home refinancing application, signed by me. But it wasn't mine. Someone had tried to copy it, but the middle initial was missing. The handwriting was different. "Becky did this?" I asked, even though I knew the answer. James nodded. 3 months ago, she took $330,000 off the house. Needed your signature because the VA loan was in your name, so she forged it. I clenched my fists. So, forged a signature, took money from the house, took money from savings, filed for divorce? Busy, James added. Even better, her boyfriend, Jeremy, is listed as a co-borrower. He has 2 DUIs and a fraud conviction from 2019. I took a deep breath. What can I do? A few options. But first, what do you want? I thought for a moment. I want what's mine. And I want her to understand the consequences. James smiled. So listen. The next day, I drove by my house. Jeremy's car wasn't there, but Becky's was still parked in the yard. I parked a few doors down, sitting quietly watching. Part of me wanted to go up and knock on the door, look her in the eye, and ask, why? But that wasn't the plan. Instead, I went to the bank, to the clerk who had processed the refinance. I showed him my military ID, my driver's license, and my real signature. His face paled. I'll have to report it right away, he said. I understand, I said. I filed a report. That night, Becky texted. Who told the bank what? Jeremy said someone was coming to check on me. I didn't respond. The next day, I went to the county office and filed a fraud dispute on the refinance. I also filed a formal notice. Any changes to the property would require my presence. 2 days later, Becky called. I put the phone in my mailbox. Nathan, we need to talk. The bank called the house. What are you doing? If it's about the divorce, act like an adult. Those words, like an adult, resounded like an empty bell. I still didn't answer. That afternoon, James called. They've frozen the refinance. But there's a problem. I frowned. What problem? Half of it's gone. About $14,600. I clenched my fists. Where? The bank can't say, unless they get a subpoena. But the internal investigator, Thompson, seems willing to help. The next morning, I met Thompson, the fraud investigator at the bank. He wore a tie with coffee stains, his eyes sunken with fatigue. This happens more often than you think, he said, spreading out the files on the table. A soldier goes away, someone at home sees an opportunity. So what now? I asked. We've frozen the account, but like I said, some of it's been withdrawn. Here. He turned the computer screen around. Many of the transactions went to one name, Daniel Spencer. I stared at the name. Who is Daniel Spencer? We don't know, but you should have your lawyer request the records. I called James as soon as I left the bank. An hour later, he called back. Daniel Spencer is a real estate agent, a quick buy-sell-quick cash broker. I fell silent. My pulse slowed as the truth sank in. She was going to sell the house? I said quietly. It looks like it, James said. The other transactions could have been down payments. But here's the catch. Daniel Spencer has been doing business with Jeremy Ryan. You mean? They've done 3 deals together in the last 2 years. I sat down on a park bench, my head spinning. This was not a divorce anymore. So this isn't just Becky leaving me for another guy. James paused, then said, I think this is a systematic scam. I'm the target. It's not just you. Jeremy has a history of hooking up with women whose husbands are separated or in the military. There have been at least 3 other cases. Each time, the house was sold below market value to a regular client. Jeremy took a percentage, then disappeared. I put my face in my hands. This is organization. It's a pattern. It's calculation. See, Becky? I asked softly. Not sure. Maybe a scam. Maybe an accomplice. James took a breath. I've contacted the FBI, the Financial Crimes Division. It's possible this is cross-state, involving VA loans and active duty military. They're very interested. That night, I sat alone in the motel, opening a cold beer, looking out the window at the city lights. No more anger, just clarity. Then my phone rang. Becky, Nathan, call me. The bank said something about fraud. Jeremy got arrested for driving your car. I don't know what's going on. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I texted, is Daniel Spencer there? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, reappeared, disappeared. Finally, just one line. I don't know what you're talking about. I texted, $14,600. Multiple transfers. House for sale. 10 minutes passed. Then a text. It's not what you think. Hang up. Then go to bed. The next morning, James called. The FBI wants to meet. They've been watching Ryan and Spencer for months. Your case could be the final piece of the puzzle. For the first time since I got the divorce email in the desert, I felt satisfied. Not because my marriage was falling apart, but because the truth was finally coming out. We met with Agents Patel and Donovan at the Spokane FBI office. They took statements, photographed the entire file James and I had collected. This case shows intent, organization, and a recurring pattern, Agent Patel explained. These are no longer isolated incidents. This is a systematic conspiracy. What about my wife? I asked. You two are separated, right? We're still determining the extent of her involvement, Agent Donovan said. What has she said about finances? Pressure to sell the house. I thought about it. About 6 months ago, she started saying we were too poor for the house, so we should move to a smaller place. That's when she started seeing Jeremy, Patel noted. I nodded. But she never talked to me about refinancing or selling the house. Donovan frowned slightly. She forged your signature while you were stationed. That's a big red flag. They asked me a few more questions, then handed me their business cards. While we're investigating, please have no contact with Becky or Jeremy. I returned to the old house that evening, in my car, a block away from my house. Jeremy's car had returned. It must have been picked up from the impound lot. Becky wasn't there. My phone rang again. Becky, we need to talk. Meet me at Riverfront Park tomorrow morning. The next morning, I showed James the text. Don't go, he said. Nothing good is waiting for you there. I'm not going, I said. But I want to know what she was doing when she thought she was seeing me. At 9:30 a.m., we parked a block away. At 9:45, Becky pulled out of the garage and headed toward Riverfront Park. What now? James asked. Wait, I said. 20 minutes later, a car pulled up, a real estate company logo on the side. Daniel Spencer got out. Jeremy greeted him. We chatted for a few minutes before we walked into the house. Are you coming? James asked. I shook my head. No need. I installed security cameras all over the house last year. Everything's saved to the cloud. I opened the app on my phone and tilted the screen so James could see. Inside the house, Spencer is taking pictures. Jeremy is pointing out details. I turn up the volume. Spencer, I'll put it up for sale this weekend. Cash buyer. Jeremy, how much are they offering? Spencer, advertised for $470. They offered $420. Everyone's happy. Jeremy, what about the husband? Spencer, Miss Becky said he was causing trouble. But he's a soldier. Just make a fuss and move on. He'll take the settlement and be quiet. I look at James. Write it down. He's already started. Every word. I send the entire file to Agent Patel with a text message. In progress, now. 30 minutes later, my house is surrounded by the FBI. I watch from a distance as they escort Spencer and Jeremy out, in handcuffs. My phone rings. Saying we heard it all. They admitted it all. The fraud, the forgery, the illegal sale of property. But there's one more thing. Silence. Your ex-wife is standing in front of the house. She looks shocked. I look toward the house. Becky stood on the lawn, hands over her mouth, standing still as a statue, surrounded by FBI agents carrying files and computers out of the house. What will happen to her? I asked. Depends on how much she knows and what you want. I looked at Becky for a long time. 13 years of marriage, some good years, before it all fell apart. Finally, I said, I just want the right thing. The federal case moved quickly. Jeremy and Spencer both pleaded guilty for reduced sentences and named other co-defendants in a 3-state fraud scheme that targeted military families. Becky, in interviews, claimed to have no knowledge of the overall scheme. She said Jeremy had led her to believe I was hiding money, that I intended to leave her with nothing, that refinancing was the best idea for financial protection. Maybe it was true. Maybe it wasn't. In any case, she accepted a deal. Return all withdrawals. Give up all rights to my house and military pension. Sign a statement admitting to forgery. In exchange, I dropped criminal charges. We were officially divorced 6 months after that cold email from Kandahar. No fault. No damages. No tears. A clean break. The day I signed the final papers, I got a call from Agent Patel. Jeremy Ryan was sentenced to 8 years for fraud, conspiracy, and identity theft, she said. Spencer got 12 years. We thought you should know. Thanks, I said. One more thing, she said. We found 11 other military families who were victims. Your records helped us piece things together. They may be able to get compensation because of you. After I hung up, I sat on the porch of my rented apartment, watching the sunset. I thought about the other men, soldiers, who had gone away to serve, believing their families were okay, only to come back, empty. I didn't set out to take down the entire ring. I just wanted to get back what was mine. But sometimes justice comes in unexpected ways. A year later, I sold the house. I couldn't live in it anymore. Too many memories. Too much betrayal seeping into every wall. I used the money to buy a small cabin outside Missoula, Montana. 2 bedrooms, 10 acres, a creek behind the house. No neighbors. No noise. I retired early after 20 years of service. I had done enough. I got a German Shepherd. I named him Scout. I started doing carpentry for the mountain people. Not rich, not famous, but my hands were always busy. My heart was always at peace. My military pension was enough to live on. I think about Becky now and then. No more anger. No more love. Just a blur in my memory. James told me she was back in Oregon, working at another dental office. Starting over. Me too. One evening, I got a letter from Texas. The sender was a woman in Fort Worth. Her husband was in the Navy, one of Spencer and Jeremy's victims. The FBI gave her my name. You don't know me, but you saved my family. Thank you for standing up, when it would have been easier to just walk away. I read it twice, then pinned it to my refrigerator. On the quietest days, when memories come flooding back like waves, I look at that letter and remember that something good came out of everything. Jeremy is still in jail. Spencer is too. This time, the system did it right. And me? I'm finding my way forward. Day by day, breath by breath, rebuilding from scratch, a life that no one can steal, fake, or betray. A life that belongs only to me.